I shared my full review of the Nikon D500 and my body tour of it as well, plus a number of photo shoots and various other photos done with various lenses on the D500. I've also shared an overview of the menus. Now, though, it's time for my detailed menu walkthrough series. In this series of videos, I'll walk through each menu item. The D500 has 7 menu sections though, so I'll make 7 walkthrough videos. In this first video, we'll discuss the playback menu. Anytime you want to jump to a different D500 video, I have created a playlist on my YouTube channel. You can jump to the playlist at the link above. And there's one more special treat for those of you who support my site or who would like to, either as a patron through Patreon or for VIP members of Snapchick.com. I've created a special video called My Personal D500 Menu and Body Settings. In that video, I show you how I've put together my hand-picked settings into a configuration for the D500 that is ready for many different types of shooting. Links to that video on Snapchick.com and on Patreon are in the description of this video. On to the playback menu. This is where you manage the images on your camera and how you see those images on the rear LCD screen when you hit the playback button. The playback menu is the top one listed along the left side of the screen. And the first menu item is delete. If you have images on one of your memory cards, this will become available. You can delete images here. Selecting this option, you have 2 ways to delete: selected and all. In selected, you can mark the photos you'd like to delete. At the bottom of the screen, it tells you to press the center of the multi-selector to make your selections. Then press OK to delete and confirm. Going back, you can choose all, which will delete all of the images. Now there are 2 cards in the D500, so if you have images on both, you can choose which card you'd like to delete. There are 2 other ways to erase images. You can erase everything on either card by formatting it. I'll go over formatting the memory cards in my video on the setup menu. The other way allows you to delete one photo at a time. While in playback, you can hit the trash can button on the back of the camera. It will prompt you to hit it again to delete the image. Back in the playback menu, the next item is playback folder, where you can choose a folder that shows up when you hit the playback button on the back of the camera. I'm going to hop down to the last 2 options first. If you choose all, photos in all folders will be visible during playback. Choosing this means that when you hit the playback button, you'll be able to scroll through all of the images in all of the folders. The last option is current. Later in the photo shooting menu, we'll choose which folder your new images go into when you press the shutter release button. Whichever one you have chosen is your current folder. So when you choose current here, only those images will be available to see when you press the playback button. Now going back to that first option, because you can choose where your images are recorded and make new folders, you may end up with more than one option here. ND500 is the default folder that is created when you start taking photos. Choosing this here means that only the photos in that folder will show up in playback. Next is hide image, where you can hide images during playback. They just won't show up when you scroll through the images you've taken, but they aren't deleted. You'll still see them if you plug your memory card into a computer. This option can be helpful if you are doing a slideshow and want to leave some images out of the show. I'll show you the slideshow feature in a minute. Here you can select and deselect images one by one using the center of the multi-selector here. Then you press OK to confirm your selections. If you want to unhide all those images, go to deselect all and confirm. Playback display options is a handy section. Here you decide how images are displayed on the screen during playback. In playback mode, you can view your image or image information on several different screens by pressing up and down on the multi-selector. All of these are different screens. To choose them, you press the right arrow on the multi-selector. You can see that a check mark shows when I've selected something. You can have a screen where the focus point is highlighted or a screen where only the image is showing. You can have a screen that shows the highlights. If this is chosen, the highlights will show by blinking on the image. It's good for a quick check of exposure. You can see the image's histogram. You can have a screen showing the image's shooting data, like the metering mode, the aperture, and the focal length. And last, you can have an overview screen, which shows a thumbnail of your image, plus some of the file information and shooting data. When your choices are made, press the OK button. Next is copy images. This is where you can copy photos from one of the memory cards in your camera to the other. If you have images on both cards, you would first choose which card you want to copy from, then select the photos to copy. You can choose all images or choose a folder to choose certain photos. Here you have a few options to get started. You either start with no photos selected and you add them one by one, or you start with all of them selected and then you go in and deselect certain images. Or last, you can only select the protected images. The next option is image review, which you can choose on or off. If you choose on, the image will show up on your screen after you take the photo. After delete determines what happens after you delete an image. If you are in playback and you use the trash can button to delete an image, the image will disappear, but then what shows up on your screen? You can have the camera show the next image, show the previous image, or continue as before. If you choose continue as before, the camera will look at the last thing you did. If you were scrolling forward through the photos, it will go to the next photo. If you were scrolling backwards through the photos, it will go to the last photo. The next option is After Burst Show. Here you choose which photo shows up after you hit the playback button after you shoot a burst of photos in continuous mode. You can choose for the first image of the burst to show first or the last image of the burst to show first. Now this is only used if you have image review turned off. If you have image review on, it doesn't matter what you choose here. Auto image rotation is an on or off option. If you choose on, the image file will contain information on how the camera was oriented when the photo was taken, so the photo will show right side up when viewed in playback or when you're using the Nikon software View NXI or Capture NXD. Now, rotate tall is related. If you choose on for auto image rotation and you choose on for rotate tall, the image showing on the screen will be rotated to be right side up if it was taken in the portrait orientation. If you choose off here, the image on the screen will not be rotated. Next is Slideshow. This is where you can put on a slideshow on the LCD screen of your camera or when your D500 is plugged into a larger screen using a cable. Your first option is to start the show, which will simply start showing the images in the current playback folder that are not hidden, which we discussed earlier. You can also choose the image type that will be included. You can choose still images and movies, or just one or the other. Last, you can choose the frame interval, meaning how long each image is displayed. The last item on the playback menu is Select to Send to Smart Device. This is where you choose images to send to your smart device using the SnapBridge app. Choosing photos here won't do anything on its own. You need to initiate the upload in the app on your phone or tablet. That's it for the playback menu. Most of the options are kind of set it and forget it, but there are some items that you might need to access from time to time. There are 6 more menus to take a look at, along with more D500 specific videos. They are all in the playlist that you will see to the right, or you can click on the Patreon link above to find out more about supporting my mission and seeing how I set up my own D500.